We here for the latest, south side or the north side, not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams, both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball, but we don't put the wrong strings, yeah. It's that time of the year now, Wrigley or Gantes or the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood, discussions and interviews, straight rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife.
Hey everybody, we are now live. We're just going to do some retweets and all that fun stuff, and then we're going to get right into the show. So just
no pun intended.
Yeah. So just give us a second here, and then we will get going. All right, there's that. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, February 17th, and you have found the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. I am your host, Matt Swaski, a.k.a. Southside Zoe, a.k.a. Father Zoe. I got a lot of AKAs, Alex. And then with me, as always, Mr. Aldo Soto.
Guys, we're getting pretty close to we're just going to have to start another MLB The Show League. That's the only baseball we're going to have.
Oh, he's doing quiet segues.
Little tease.
And the good Reverend K. Fids.
Aldo's out here brainstorming already. Last week we really created a brand new film, Netflix film. This week we're going to create a new option for baseball without baseball, digital baseball. Really, Aldo's really on it. We're fixing the world 1 gigabyte at a time.
And if you're watching us live, which you should be every Wednesday night on every major platform, you do notice that the show did get a little handsomer this week. I don't really agree with the decor, but he does, and I know my co-hosts do. But joining us this week, we are very, very honored to have Mr. Alex Healy. You can find him at the Standing Room podcast, Standing Room Only podcast, and we'll give you that Twitter. We'll tweet that out as well, or at the Healy 6 on both Twitch and Twitter. He is a very accomplished streamer of MLB The Show. He's an official partner of MLB. He's been on MLB's network, featured. Big dog, I see you up there. I see that pin tweet.
Yeah,
but yeah,
appreciate you having me on.
No, thank you, Alex. I was saying before the show, a big fan of the game, the show. I played a lot. I watched a lot of your videos. I think you've single-handedly taught me how to hit. You didn't even know that until right now, so I appreciate those. I'm sure those tutorial videos are a pain in the balls to make, but thank you for doing that. So we have Alex on the show. We're going to talk, obviously, if you can see his hat and his background full of Cub decor. We are going to talk Cubs. We're going to talk Lockout baseball. We're going to get into the show 22, which I am over the moon excited about. And you guys all know how this show goes by now. So, yeah, I'm not even going to try to plan out the rest of it. So, all that being said, let's tap this keg. As always, the show is brought to you by SportsMockery, SportsMockery.com. Make sure you download the app, turn on push notifications, and you'll be the first one to know when the lockout's over and these owners stop sucking. SportsMockery, SportsMockery.com. Turn on the app, turn on the push notifications. And as always, we are sponsored by PointsBet. Make sure you're using promo code Pinwheels. Online registration is rumored to be back in Illinois anytime soon, so you don't got to pull up in the parking lot like a weirdo and download the app anymore. You can do it from the comfort of your own home. PointsBet, PointsBet.com. Make sure you bet on the Bulls. I just did a futures bet. I'm really hoping on that. I got DeMar as MVP too. Oh my goodness, let's go, Mr. Fourth Quarter. This is not a basketball podcast, though. This is a baseball podcast again. And again, we are very welcome. We are very happy to welcome in Mr. Alex Healy. So right out of the gate, the big news that's coming around is the big offer that was made on Saturday was being labeled as insulting by the Players Association. Never a good sign when you see that. People walked away from the table disappointed. And now the rumor, and it's not even just a Bob rumor, like everyone tweeted it because everyone's hungry for news. So you can't just put this as a Bob Nightingale. It's going to be the opposite type deal. They are going to be meeting again today. Well, Thursday. I know this goes out on Thursdays, but we're live on Wednesday. On Thursday, and apparently the players organization is going to be making an offer this coming on the day that spring training was supposed to start. So, Alex, starting with you, bud, just as our guest, I'm curious, what are you doing without baseball, man?
Oh, man, I wish they were just coming to an agreement. The worst thing about all this is every single time it seems like with the news outlets and everything, it just seems to turn into the players aren't doing what we want. It's the players that are holding this up, when in reality the players are putting out good offers, good agreements that the owners could agree with, and they just deny it and don't really want to talk. Like they wanted that mediator or whatever that person's called to help them out. Players are like, no way, we're not doing that. And it's crazy because the owners make billions of dollars. The players don't even want to like pull a penny from their worth to help out a lot of the people in the organization. They want to change up the free agent like service time and all that. I just want them to get together and agree soon. They said that they were planning to start on time. It's not looking like it, though. Like knowing baseball, it's not like basketball or football where they could be like, all right, let's go 2 weeks. You get a preseason game here and there. Like, no, baseball, you got to take like that month to work on live action, implement maybe a new pitch. And if they don't agree tomorrow, we're looking at probably a delay to the season. Now, I definitely don't want a delay to the season, especially if they play 162, because we could see just a bunch of double headers and more games played than there should be, which will result in more injuries like 2020 did.
So with the double headers, though, real quick, rapid fire here. Do you like 7-inning double headers?
I thought it was cool. Like,
this is a big debate on this. Some of us like it, some of us don't.
A heavy silence after that answer.
There's
Alex.
no wrong answer there, but yes,
it definitely helps out. In 2020, it made sense because it helps out the arms and whatnot. But I'd say I maybe if they changed the extra inning rule to it, it could be better. Because then some of those 7-inning doubleheaders ended like in the 8th with like a walk-off single because the guy was already on second base. I didn't mind them. And especially if you were one of the people who bought tickets, I guess you couldn't buy tickets in 2020. But if I was to buy a ticket, wait, did they do 7 innings this year too? Am I thinking correctly?
I think they did, because I think Beef told us they served like
okay, yeah,
through the game.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, you're right.
But like, if a game gets postponed and you want to go see one of those games or both, you aren't there for like a whole day. You get to see 2 decent games, and I'd say it's worth your money at that point.
I get what you're saying there. Now, you brought up an interesting topic interesting point about people learning a new pitch, getting ready to go for the season, players ramping up. Fids, as a coach, though, like, where are these guys at headspace? I know you're talking to some of your guys there. Like, I mean,
they're preparing as normal. They just, the only thing that's happening right now is that their report time is now delayed. But I see Shreve every day. He's throwing at UNLV. He's out there. He's got throwing. I mean, these guys have the guys they work with regardless. I mean, I think he works. I can't tell. I remember if he works with Braden or Soder out here. He'll kill me if I say it wrong. So I don't want to it's one of the 2 big guys out here, Braden or Soder.
Take a risk. Don't be scared.
Take
a risk. Say a name.
I want to say it's Soder. I want to say it's Soder because Soder is the guy that works with like everybody. And it's like the who's who of not just rehabilitation, but like actual pitcher strength stuff. They have a thing called the box. Like, it's a fantastic like band exercise like regiment kind of thing. They all work with this guy.
Jason, if you got it wrong, feel free to come on and make fun of Kevin.
Well, he also went to Driveline too, so he's been doing a lot of the Driveline stuff that he learned up in Washington. So but they're doing the same thing. KB's does nothing different. KB's down the street hitting in the cage at his dad's house in the Red Bull cave, as I call it.
Alex, this is where we all would drink, by the way.
That's a big moment. But Bryce Harper's out hitting at Vegas High School, man, and out at UNLV. These guys are doing their thing. The only thing that they're missing is the ability to hang out and spend some time with their teammates and kind of acclimate to that team vibe, get to know some of their coaches, maybe some new people that are on the staff, and just kind of start getting into that routine. But spring training, a lot of these guys, spring training's too long for them. Some of them guys that are fighting for spots, they're like, I got to give me as much time as possible until I can't hang myself, then stop the count. But These guys that's why they're professionals, and you can see in these types of moments though who the guys that are the true professionals are and who aren't, because if the season is delayed, who comes out of the gate ready and who doesn't. And these are the people that put the time in, you could tell, and the people that take months to figure it out means that they kind of, it's the same with the offseason. Guys that start slow, generally, I'd say about 70% of the time are guys that just started a little later in their routine. Because, I mean, what some of these guys do, they do constantly. I mean, they take like 2 weeks off and it's back to the grind. So I think that it's going to, nothing changes with their routine other than the fact that they don't have to report to Arizona or Florida, and they get to spend more time with their family, at least for the time being. So they'll be ready when the time comes. They're doing everything else that they're supposed to. You don't need to have a coaching staff around you to do the stuff that you've got to do to prepare the way you prepare in spring training. You can have someone hit PFPs. You can have someone hit fungos. You can do all those things still, and on worse playing surfaces, to be honest, because you're stuck at whatever local field you play at. And so, it sucks for these guys, but I think that in a weird little, silver lining, it's kind of like snow days. You're kind of like, I don't know. That's kind of cool. But if it digs into the summer, I'm going to be a little pissed. But that's
when's KB going to call you so you can throw some live BP to him?
I don't think he wants me to throw BP to him because I throw heavy. So that makes it harder. My ball is a downward dip naturally, and that drives everybody nuts when I'm throwing it. So there's a lot of ground balls in BP. So
and in honor of the,
I also uncork one on occasion, which is
in the honor of the new Jackass movie. If you throw in BP, don't hide behind the net, boys.
Dude, I coached third. While he faced high school pitchers with aluminum bats, which means I was 45 feet away. I was closer coaching third, and he almost took my head off. I mean, I have shorter eyebrows as a result. He got our base coach once. That was fun.
One of the things that really sucks about all this, and I mean, we've gone into detail in the show about how they have an abundance of young talent to market the game, and how they're just isolating fans. But one of the biggest things, though, that really, there's so many rosters that are completely unfinished right now, and free agents hanging in the wind, guys that want to be traded. There's news about Juan Soto turning down big money right before the lockout. But before the lockout was done, one of the bigger names that was signed were the Cubs were able to get Marcus Stroman on paper. Now, Healy is one of the bigger big Cubs fans there. Where were you at on that signing? Is that you feeling good about Stroman? And two-part question. You feel good about Stroman, and what would you like to see the Cubs do as soon as the ink hits the paper and the lockout's over?
So initially, before he got signed, I was like, I would like to see him get paid. Not with the Cubs, though. I didn't want to see him because his analytic numbers, like his, they looked as if he was kind of getting lucky in a sense, where his estimated numbers were worse than his actual numbers. But after doing more research, I feel like he could be good in the long run. I like his pitch to contact style. To answer your question, though, as soon as the lockout ends, what really makes him, helps him be a good pitcher, you need to have good defense behind him. I don't really know if Nico Horner and Nick Madrigal up the middle are going to help him out with that. So what they could do, there's still a guy out there who wants a lot of money.
Yes.
The Ricketts could pay.
Two guys.
And yeah, I would love to see Carlos Correa. He's my favorite player, not on the Cubs.
So just for full transparency, we get peppered every week. I think it's the same guy, actually. Where's Correa going to sign? If Correa doesn't sign there, will they sign Trevor Story? So that's why we both held up two fingers right away, because we get asked.
We're reminded of.
I forgot about Story.
Yeah,
there are always two. Also, too, Shreve, one of our guys. He's a friend of the show. He's been on the show a few times. He played with Stroman in New York, and so he's very familiar with him as well. And his first reaction, he actually texted me, and this is terrible. I don't know if this is a bad reflection of me or how he knows my sensibility. He goes, "Oh, dude, you're not gonna like him." I'm like, "What the fuck? Hold on, huh?" And I'm like, "Why?" And he's like, "The antics." I'm like, "Dude, I'm over the antics now." I go, "Does he play defense and does he throw strikes? Does he hit his spots?" He's like, "No, he does those. Fantastic." I'm like, "I'll be fine. If you pick your spot, I'm good." Like, bad defensive pitchers piss me off. But I'm like, he can be kind of all over the place as long as he's not, throwing his teammates under the bus. Look, a pitcher can only really impact everything 5 days, every 5 days. Everything else, they can send him home. He can go golf and do whatever he wants in the free time. I don't care. Starters show up on every 5th day. That's it. And so it's a very different thing. But he says that he's an interesting dude. Like he said, he's going to be an influence in the clubhouse, whether the clubhouse wants it or not. He will enforce his will. And he doesn't say it's a bad thing. He likes him. He does. He just thought that I wouldn't like him because he's very outspoken and sometimes he'll challenge coaches too. So David Ross probably might have a little bit more on his hands, and obviously the pitching coach as well as the bullpen catcher and anybody that really does anything with that staff. You're going to find that he's going to lay it out there bluntly. So I kind of appreciate that now, because I think just professionals, it's different. You're all on the same. You're all grown men. You could kick each other's ass if you want to privately. That's fine. Go for it. As a high schooler or a college kid, even, it's a little different. But at that point, I mean, it's the same thing with the NFL. These guys, the best coach in the NFL right now, we just won a championship, the youngest guy in the league, and there's dudes on his teams that are basically the same age. They would have graduated together. So you got to have that. That never is a bad thing, I think, to me, because you get better input and they're on the same kind of level. But that's what I've heard, is that he's going to force his will a little bit, which is fine.
For those of you new to the show, in the chat or anything, if you have a question, fire away. We'll get to it as the flow goes here. But yeah, and if you're also just joining us, we're joined by Alex Healy at the Healy 6, or you can also find him at SR Only Pod. So the White Sox need a second baseman and a right fielder. Just got to throw in some White Sox talk. And yeah, I don't
Crazy,
know.
they had one last year.
Yeah. So Alex, that hurts. I'm a big Nick Madrigal guy. I was. He's on the Cubs now. I've dismissed him.
Oh, wow.
But
I thought your ride or die is out no matter what.
no, White Sox ride or die. I told you that. The allegiance to stay on the south side.
Yeah,
I think
he's still your boy.
I think he's going to be good on the Cubs. I think the lollipop guild up the middle for the Cubs is going to hold it down. The two little lollipop kings up the middle. You see that video I sent you guys? Someone's already taken. They're already working out together. They're rolling double plays and shit. Yeah, I definitely thought it was a high school practice.
That's all That's all we've been seeing for since November. Just, especially like Cubs Twitter, Cubs pitching prospects. They went the whole month of December with their weight challenge videos that they were doing. And then they're the most committed to posting their pitching videos and their process, which is cool to see from a distance. They keep you as updated as they possibly can.
Who was the kid tearing it up for the Cubs last year in the minor leagues? I can't think of his name.
Is it Ryan Jensen?
There was Ryan
Jensen. No, what's his name?
Outfielder.
Brendan Davis.
Brendan Davis.
Yeah, Brendan Davis. Yeah, so I mean,
he's gonna be Theus's kid to me forever.
The fact that the four of us who watch baseball religiously, it took us a minute that should tell you what the lockout has done to people's brains. Because if we would have asked this question to these four people a year ago or whatever, we all would have said his name, number, height,
But if you ask us who the third housewife is,
anyways, so I mean that's the biggest thing there, and then I'm going to just get into it because I'm very excited. I saw you doing the testing for it. It's coming out. Shohei Ohtani, 2022, the show. Now, I guess, Alex, for the people watching this that don't really know, can you explain to them, what your affiliation with the video game MLB The Show is?
So, right now, currently upload YouTube videos. I stream on Twitch playing the video game MLB The Show. I play the card collecting mode called Diamond Dynasty. In it, you can play with legends and current players. The past few years, they've added so many amazing legends throughout the game. They've added Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Babe Ruth, all in recent years. We have seen Randy Johnson supposed to be in it this year. We've seen Joe Mauer get added back in. Ryan Howard. They used to only add older guys into the game, but in recent history they have began adding 2000s guys and 2010s guys back into the game. So they may have been in it before, but technically they're now a legend, which means they're just retired from the game.
Are they going to add Charlie Huff today though? Charlie Huff today and the legends? Because he can still go out there and throw a 42-mile-an-hour knuckleball and get outs probably. And, I mean, obviously he's 64, but that dude looked like he was 85 even when he was playing with the Marlins.
That would be a sick card.
So you get the Charlie Huff card. Your catcher actually has a huge glove when you throw to him.
And I got to admit, Healy's videos on YouTube, you definitely got to go check those out. The Twitch stream, they help out everyone playing the game a lot. I'm super jealous of your gig, dude, because it looks awesome. How much hours a week goes into something like that?
During the season, probably it's like 3 hours of video, so 21 hours right there, and then I would stream like I would say average 6 days a week, at least 3 hours right there, so almost 40 hours just creating content, I'd say.
It's very much a full-time job.
Yeah, and when I first started out, I made content back in like 2013, 2014, 15. I just played random games. 2015, I was in high school, or just got out of high school around there. So working at Best Buy, got my tax money back, and I was like, oh man, haven't played an MLB game in a while. Got the PlayStation 4, fired up the MLB 15, played it for a little bit, saw the viewers got a little higher when I played that compared to others, but I stopped for the time being. And then MLB 16 came around. They were talking about Diamond Dynasty. 15 was like their first big Diamond Dynasty iteration. They had it in 12, 13, 14, but it was like kind of fake players and whatnot. But 15 was where they kind of built the base. 16 then was like the one that got me off the ground. I was uploading, I was streaming a lot at that time, and I was always big on making sure I had kind of like the best setup possible. So people at that time would stream like off of laptops, and it looked okay, their mics were okay. Always wanted the better quality, and then uploaded to YouTube, started getting a lot more traction there compared to the other videos I was making. And at one point I realized, like, wait, if you want to watch an MLB The Show video, you have to watch me and or 3 other people. So because of that, I put out a lot of videos. You had to watch me, and because of that, I kind of got in at the right time, because nowadays there's so much competition, it's way harder. Got in, and because people knew me from then, it's kind of helped me stay with the others as time's gone on.
So besides timing, I mean, like you said, there's a lot of competition out in the field, and I'm sure there's a lot of parents, dads that watch this show, you know, and their kids are probably like, oh, I'm going to be a streamer. Like, you know, what if you can give them a little bit of advice, what would your tip be to those kids that want to crack into the game?
Saying you don't have enough time is an excuse. Well, there's always enough time if you want to make it. So around that time where I started getting a little more views and doing YouTube and doing everything seriously, I was in college, taking a few classes a day. I was working a job. I worked like 30-ish hours a week. And so I'd wake up at like 10 or 9-ish, go to class at 10, come home at like 2, edit my video for the day, go to work at 4 or 5, come home at 9, 10, take a nap. I'd take like a 30-minute to an hour nap. I would start up my stream at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. I'd be done at like 2 to 3 a.m. and then I would record my video for the next day after I was already done streaming, and I would go to bed at like 4.
Jesus, dude. That's insane.
So like if you want to go out and get it, you gotta put in the work.
You're saying get used to Red Bull, Mountain Dew, meth, or cocaine. One of those 4 major food groups of getting into Twitch, into that streaming. You gotta put in the time. You're 100% right.
And like if you really don't have all that time, or like want to put in as much effort as that, the main tip, as always, is be consistent. If you're streaming, always have a time where people can find you. They don't have to guess when you're going to be live and whatnot. Because if you can get people in your stream that know a specific time you're streaming, then they're going to come back, which will lead to more people joining, and then it'll just grow. YouTube, you just got to be consistent with that and upload. If you can only upload 3 times a week, only upload 3 times a week.
Yeah, we say the same thing about the show. I mean, there's weeks where, trust me, we do not want to do this. And we're like, no, every Wednesday night, 8 o'clock, we got to do the show. We've moved it a couple days because of other life events, and a lot of stuff that you're saying, I mean, I know it applies to what you do, but you could apply a lot of that to literally anything. I mean, if you really want something bad enough, if it's playing baseball, anything, you got to have the time for it.
It's like, have you seen that picture of the iceberg? And it's like, I mean, this is something it's the cliche that we use as coaches with the iceberg, where you only see the top of the iceberg. Nobody sees what's below the water. That's a perfect example of anything, especially whether it's sports, entertainment, media, whatever. You have to be present, and that requires time and effort. And the only people see is, oh, they are. What is the old phrase? The result of a bullseye, or the bullseye is the result of 1,000 misses. I think it is. You got to go out there and just shoot your shot and fail, and just grow and learn. And that
I have a feeling that if we gave you an hour and another half glass of whiskey, you can just rifle off coach cliches for an hour straight.
I got a book
without even hesitating. You can just go an hour straight of coach cliches.
It's right there next to Naked Lunch, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and Mario Puzo's The Last Dawn. There it is. Yeah. The mental game of baseball. It's a book. And Augie Garrido's Life is Yours.
I figured as much. Now, you said you always had the best equipment, and as you said it, your video is sick, dude. Like, just even on this show, I'm like, holy shit. He makes my camera look like I'm recording on a potato. So that video, I might have to hit you in the DM and ask you what video camera you're rocking. But no, I mean, that's wild. And I think people don't really appreciate how much time goes into it. I mean, you could definitely tell though, like the quality of your videos and some of the other guys that we were talking about before the show, you could tell who the real deal guys are and who the part-timers are. You know what I mean? And and I get it. Some dudes I don't think I would ever. I feel like I'd be torturing people if I made them watch me play the show, let alone any video game. Like, oh, you want to see a guy swing at every pitch for 4 hours? Here's my stream. I don't take balls. But and then the other thing, obviously, with the news coming out and people just craving baseball, as we've all mentioned, like we just want baseball. It was kind of big news when MLB The Show 22 dropped their cover athlete being Ohtani, which I thought that was a no-brainer. And
they had to. It would be a clear miss. I was saying this might be wild, but at the moment, in current times, I get there's a bunch of baseball fans, but to the casual person at the moment, Shohei Ohtani had the same amount of pull power with advertising for the new game, maybe even more due to him being more current, than I'd say Derek Jeter.
Yep. And not only just in the baseball world, but overseas markets. Are you kidding me? This game's going to break records.
It's on the Switch, which is the most popular system in Japan.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's not localized, so it's in English only. I know how much of a pain that is because on my Switch, I do have the NPB baseball game, and it's only in Japanese.
I remember that. I watched one of those videos, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. So
only in Japanese, and it gets it's cool to play a baseball game, but I'm not going to sit there and I have to constantly translate it. It's just more annoying than getting enjoyment out of it.
You would think though, if they were going to make this major push with a guy like Ohtani on the cover going on the Nintendo Switch, they would figure out how to code that into at least make that language. Anyways, now because of my involvement with the game, I tend to get sucked into some of these message boards and all this stuff, especially when the new game comes out and I get all excited. You mentioned a name. There was rumored that there was a leak about a Legend Edition with Derek Jeter on the cover. It's like, welcome Nintendo Switch to the platform, and then they leaked this the separate edition with Derek Jeter on the cover.
Does it come with a fruit basket?
I was gonna say, I knew you were gonna make the gift basket joke. I knew it. I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot or get you in trouble or anything with partnership. Have you heard anything with that, or is that a no comment?
I don't know anything about it, but that was a great Photoshop job of whoever did it, and thank you to them because I was able to. I saw it. Someone tweet about it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I am grabbing this and I am reposting it. They got me like 15,000 likes on Twitter.
You just told me everything that I needed to know with that comment, which means we can confirm 2022 Charlie Huff in the new MLB The Show game. So great. All right, we're there. Breaking news here.
The other conspiracy theory, if you will, that I heard, the initial gameplay video, as you mentioned, included Randy Johnson and Ryan Howard. And then all of a sudden, all those videos got taken down from all the social media platforms and re-put up with the Randy Johnson part not there anymore. Is that, do you think that's just craziness, or do you think there's something to it? And again, if you don't,
or did somebody
I have no
report
idea.
nicknamed the big unit to Twitter as inappropriate?
I have no idea why they removed those. I saw a former EA employee say, being on the other end of this, it could have just been an easy, like, we didn't want to see him in a Diamondbacks uniform. Maybe they had him look differently than what they thought he was presented. I think he's still going to be in the game. I think it's more likely that, but also, like, Ryan Howard's kid plays MLB The Show, and when Ryan Howard got announced, he's like, "Whoa, let me confirm that he's in the game." And then he's like, "All right, he's in the game," and I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" Apparently, he didn't know. They may have grabbed his rights from, like, a source. I don't know who owned them, but I'm gonna lean towards that. His representation didn't like what he was wearing or whatnot in that sense. But I think he works for the Diamondbacks as, like, a photographer or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just hope he's easy to get, because I can't hit Nolan Ryan as it is, so I can only imagine what kind of nightmare facing Randy Johnson is going to be. So I just hope I can get him in. Yeah.
I just hope my practice against Chris Sale over these years helps me out a little bit.
That's true. That's true. I usually think when I play kids online, if I see Sale come in, you either sit fastball right off the bat, or I don't know. We don't need to get into all that, but that's a good comparison, though, for sure. And then just some fun questions. You mentioned all these legends, and I know my personal favorite from this last season, let alone of all time, was the Mickey Mantle card. I've ran that card ragged, but do you have a favorite legend, somebody that absolutely has to be on your team as soon as they're available?
Tread lightly.
First year in the game, this past year, my favorite Cubs player of all time. The reason why I'm a Cubs player, or a Cubs fan, Alfonso Soriano.
You did not see that coming, Fitz. I knew that answer. You didn't see that coming.
52-ounce bat to the zone coming at all. My God, that's awesome.
Hey, people forget Alfonso was a beast in 07.
Dude,
so
his bat was a power pole, like a phone pole. It was like, what, 52 ounces or something like that? Like, it was humongous, and it was like 32 inches.
Crazy. Yeah, growing up with my mom's from Wisconsin, my dad's from Australia. So growing up, I didn't have, like, any influence on teams. I watched, like, the Sox win the World Series in 05. I didn't have a fandom at that point. And then I played the MLB, the MVP baseball games. Alfonso and Edgar Renteria were sick in those games. I loved Alfonso's stance. So he went to the Cubs, heard about it, and I think one day in like elementary school, someone's like, "Are you a Cubs fan or a Sox fan?" I'm like, Cubs. They had blue, and Alfonso Soriano was on the Cubs. So
that's pretty standard. And then for those of you that listen to the show on Spotify and all this stuff on the next day that don't watch us live, first of all, figure it out and watch us live. Second of all, you're missing Mr. Healy's here. You know what, Bob? We haven't had Jeff Passan on the show, so you instantly win best background. Because no one's messing with Passan. Sorry, we love Jeff Passan on the show, but
he will also body you. So there's also a fear factor there.
As I mentioned to you earlier, there's a group in White Sox Twitter called From the 108. We love those guys. They call themselves the Drunk Uncles of White Sox Twitter. They're phenomenal guys. One of them goes by the alias of Beef Loaf, and I still don't know the origin of this, but Jeff Passan loves to dunk on Beef Loaf on Twitter, and it's probably he took a picture of himself laying down and his butt looks like it's an innie, and Passan likes to tweet that photo. It's just a random White Sox fan,
like in yoga pants too.
Yeah, it's interesting. White Sox Twitter is an interesting place. Do you find yourself, Mr. Healy here, getting into like the Cubs Twitter, like deep in those trenches? Because I know Cubs Twitter can be a very rough place sometimes.
I haven't gone deep into Cubs Twitter.
Stay there. Don't.
I mainly just I baseball Twitter and a lot of gamers.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it. I haven't dove. I follow like Cubs fan or Cubs Zone and Cubs
Hey, Cubs Zone,
Live.
shout out. But yeah, stay there.
That's
I
about
was gonna
it.
say this though too. I will say this, and I'm very, as a Cub fan, I love White Sox Twitter, and I actually despise Cubs Twitter usually. Since the lockout and all this, Cubs Twitter has been drama free, to be honest. Like White Sox Twitter, like it's thirst traps and people fighting over like porn, and they're insulting each other. People report. I mean, it's just it's constant. Like it actually kind of gets exhausting sometimes because it's like a soap opera every day on White Sox Twitter. Cubs Twitter is just like, I just want the season to start so Marcus Stroman can throw off the mound.
Well, yeah, you guys have something to be excited about. I'm not excited about watching Larry Garcia play fucking second base every day.
Dude, oh my God. Are you hearing this, Kevin and Alex? How, after all these years, they finally get a great team, and we get Zoe complaining about 1 out of like 9.
I have that
players.
luxury now.
Exactly.
Thank you very much.
And
I did.
Alex, did Zoe tell you that he's a huge Nick Magical fan? By the way,
I didn't know that until I mentioned it earlier.
I spent a year of my life defending Nick Magical on White Sox Twitter.
Zoe has been his literal booster seat at restaurants in Chile and Applebee's.
What were you going to say, Alex? Sorry.
Speaking of White Sox Twitter, I did see yesterday there was like this whole thread. A bunch of people replying to a certain tweet of like, here's Yoan Moncada's projections.
That's our
do you like it or do you not? And there was people like, no, I'd hate it. But other people are like, yeah, give me him. He plays great defense.
I'd like to start this out by apologizing because I feel like I'm the reason you got sucked into that because we followed each other on Twitter. So I'm sorry for that. The original tweet was a friend of our show, Jordan Lazowski. He's a writer for Sox on 35th. He's actually, I think you guys would get along. He's a great dude, smart as a whip. Jordan has this illness where he leans into trolls. Like he doesn't just ignore it, he leans into it. And he's been through this lockout being told that Yoan Moncada is not a top 10 MLB third baseman. So when the projections came out, because God knows Twitter loves projections, he really leaned into those trolls because a lot of the trolls are going to tell him, I shouldn't call them trolls, a lot of people that oppose his viewpoint tell him one of their biggest things with Yoan Moncada is he doesn't hit for enough power. He can't be top 10. Never mind he's an A-plus fielder. Never mind that he gets on base. Never mind all that other stuff. He does not hit bombs. And we all know chicks take the long ball. So that's why Jordan really leaned into it. And yes, that is why that thread was a thing. So, I love projections.
I'm telling you, Zoe, it's KB all over again.
I hope not. Yeah.
This is exactly what's happening.
Oh wait, never mind. Wrong person.
Yeah,
that's exactly what's happening. Yoan Moncada was great. Then he had like that great 2019. Then 2020 happened. Then 2021 still very good. Just not a lot of home runs. And then now he's bad.
I guess that leads to a good point because Alex, basically what I'm going to ask you is things that we debate on the show a lot to see where you're at. Super bouncy baseballs, yay or nay?
Like more home runs?
Yeah. I like where this head.
I go with it.
Yeah. Yes.
Like basically the 2019 season when like every team set their new team record for home runs.
The ball they use in AAA, where they just hit
or like the ones they used in the primetime games this year.
Yeah, the Field of Dreams game.
Let's juice the ball and bring back sticky stuff. Fair trade.
God.
I'm good with that. That's fine.
Let's go. And you know what? While we're at it, let's stop banning HGH. That everybody that's not a professional athlete
you're taking it
shooting into their ass.
You're taking
to
it
make
up
sure
a
that they
notch.
look. They got great abs at age 74.
like that Lindor versus the Yankees game where they were going back and forth. That was great.
Yeah,
that was definitely one of those times.
I'm good with that.
They should use the Field of Dream balls for an entire season. People are going to hit 80 home runs this year. You know what I mean?
Then Moncada's going to be back.
Then Moncada's going to hit 40 bombs, and they're going to say, well, Devers hit 50. And they're going to be like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what do you want me to do here? But the other story that I do want to touch on, because it's just wild. Have you seen any of this Matt Harvey stuff?
Oh, my God.
It's crazy.
Dude is
absolutely crazy.
Ripping rails in the dugout. And now all these screenshots are coming out of him.
The blood?
Coke nosebleeds on the mound. And it's so funny, though, because if you look back to that time, if you search for stories about Matt Harvey at the time, baseball writers are here. Look at this this is a throwback to the old days. Look at this guy playing with the nosebleed. No, dude, he was just doing
He couldn't feel his toes.
I
He couldn't
do
feel his
always
toes in
remember
his
though.
nose.
What did they always say? Like, oh, like this dude parties.
Oh yeah.
I feel like there was always the story around him. Like people knew.
Those weren't just cocaine nosebleeds. Okay, what we know what Skaggs was doing too. Those were OxyContin nosebleeds too. When you're crushing really, really coarse material and just bopping it up your nose, that's just look. Baseball has this problem, by the way. This is actually something that's been dealt. We've talked about this on the podcast before. Baseball has a substance abuse problem, but in a weird way, because it attacks some substances, but not all substances. The greenies, stimulants in the 80s and the 70s. These two, I mean, if you've seen the documentary documentary where it talks about how much cocaine and you know, he's doing no hitter on LSD. I mean, he walked like 8 dudes, but whatever, 9 dudes. But you know, nobody was doing anything then. And then greenies, you know, everybody in the 80s looked like they were crackheads, and you know, they're fast and speedy, wiry, and they don't sleep. And Chris Sable used to work at McDonald's in the mornings to serve breakfast at spring training because he doesn't sleep. Like, these are guys that stayed up all night. I'm not saying that he did anything like that. He just might not have been able to sleep. But it was really weird that he actually, I don't know if you knew this story, Healy, but he literally worked at McDonald's every morning serving breakfast before spring training when he was with the Reds as a young rookie coming up with the team. That dude didn't sleep because he's like, I have nothing to do. But
and now he's a Twitch streamer.
Now we're in the, you know, we get the 90s and they turn a blind eye to, you know, steroids. But you know, look at Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden. Like, it's been so unbalanced in the league with what they enforce and what they don't, because some stuff is so good for the game and it's really easy to turn a blind eye to it. And I think that what we're going to find out, especially as this Harvey stuff and this Skaggs stuff comes out, the league's turned a blind eye to opioid abuse for a very, very, very long time, because that's the one thing I think has transcended the decades and the different substances of abuse has been the opioids and the painkillers these guys take. And that and ibuprofen, actually, which can fuck up your kidneys pretty bad. And you know what? We used to pop those things like candy. Take 5 before you pitch, take 5 when you're done, take 5 before bed. That's a lot in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so that's the stuff that we've been pushed on. Rip Fuel back, you know, in the 90s was a big thing. Then ephedra, all that stuff. It just has always been. But, you know, it sucks to see this too, because these are 2 dudes that were really struggling with addiction that are going through this. And when you hear it thrown out laid bare like this, and good on Harvey, by the way. I know he's going to get suspended, but he's being honest, man. He could lie under oath and point his finger at the judge or whoever's talking to him. He's talking to, like a lot of Major League Baseball players did. He could forget that he speaks English for a second, like Sammy Sosa did. Whatever he wants to do when he's being accused of something, he's sitting there and staring him in the face saying, "This is what I did, guys."
Well, I think they got him. I mean, I think they got those guys pretty much red-handed.
But here's people don't get to. He's not just like, didn't he get
getting away with in terms of in the media, the guy who like didn't get any attention, but also is a player who's like good, who's also testified. CJ Cron from the Rockies. That one kind of just got swept underneath the rug, but it's like, like it was like a few of the dudes from that AAA team, I think.
Yeah, and it's not, guys. It's not. I know. I don't want to. It's not that rare. These dudes.
Understood.
I would again, you know how Jose Canseco busted the league out. Someone's got to probably, if someone would just come clean and say like, look, this is what I see in the clubhouse, because these dudes, some of these guys are putting their lives on the line for stuff that they really don't need to take, but they have the mental viewpoint that it makes their game better, or it's wrong. It's just a perception. It's not reality. It's not even science, but they think that way, and that's that habit-seeking behavior, because when you get an athlete or anybody that thinks that they're in a routine that works for them and it's made them successful, they're not going to change. But the problem is that kind of lifestyle, when you get older, it doesn't age well. It doesn't age well like a swing that could break your spinal cord by the time you're 30.
What do you mean? Jose Canseco is a very well put together human being.
Absolutely. Yeah, right. Look at his mind. He's got rot brain now. I mean, I love him. But.
I know that's your boy, but I just think that it couldn't. Well, first and foremost, the very unfortunate thing is a young man lost his life.
Number one.
And it's unfortunate that it took something that significant to shed light on this. Number two, I got to think that MLB's like great timing. We're in the middle of this lockout. I'm not saying there's ever a good time for this, but right now, when people are starving for baseball, all eyes are on this now. If this was a year ago and spring training started today, I probably wouldn't have paid as much attention to those testimonies as I did today.
Kudos to the prosecution.
Yeah. Oh, that was strategic. So
that's good calendar work right there.
Sorry, Alex, didn't mean to go down negative town for a little bit there, but that was big news that we had to address. But now my next question seems so stupid.
Like the new
What's your-
West Side Story or the old West
Complete
Side Story?
180 here.
What's your favorite color? No, I was gonna ask though. We did kind of touch on it a little bit earlier, and I guess, holy shit, time flew by this episode. As we get to the end here, as we try to keep it at an hour, there are some really big names out there that we don't know where they're going to play when the season starts, and everybody has their theories on where they're going to go and who they're going to play for. And we all know who we want these guys to play for, but I'm not asking who you want them to play for. I'm asking where you think they're going to play for. So where do you think? Well, we'll start with your guy, Correa. Where do you think he ends up?
I was hoping he would end, or I was thinking along with everyone else that he was going to end up in Detroit. I think they still could afford him.
I hope. Let's just say no for my sake.
Okay.
Detroit, they probably can, but are they going to pull the trigger? I mean, they had Verlander for.
It's not going back to the Astros. It's been with this whole baseball lockout. It's been a little bit since I've actually thought about where these guys are actually going to play. I know the Angels were like kind of in discussion there. Like the Cubs, they're in discussion with him. Do they want to?
I do have to ask, by the way, while you're in this too, do you think that there's an earnest Cubs interest, or is this a seat at the table kind of moment?
Dude, they sang "Merry Christmas" to him. There's a very
no, those are Cub fans. That's not, that was legitimately two friends of the show, by the way, that I fight with all the time. From the other,
hey, Carlos Correa only thanked one fan base and wished them a Merry Christmas.
That's what I was getting to.
True.
All right, hold on. Let the man answer. Let the man answer. Carlos Correa. There's no wrong answers. Trust me. We always say we're going to go back to shows and check our predictions. We never do. So don't worry about it. It literally never happens.
Unless you say Jacksonville, which doesn't have any.
I'll just go with the team that just can't find playoff success, but they just put out so much money. I'll go with the Angels.
That'd be one hell of a lineup if that happens. So,
okay.
All right. I don't. It's tough picking other teams though, because I think the Yankees are out. He could the Marlins don't really make too much sense, but they could spend. I'm not really too sure. The Rangers already spent on a couple guys right there. I'll just go with the Angels.
Wow, you get a healthy Rodon back. That could be a sick lineup, and they probably won't. And they got Thor out there too. You got Thor throwing gas out. All right, I guess I had a couple other players, but you made a very valid point where.
Well, what do you think about the guy that's directly behind you? That if I were to say his name, would require a shot. Where do you think he's headed? And do you think there's a great chance that he returns home?
Ooh, the Phillies.
You think Phillies? Why do you think Phillies?
Alex, real quick. Don't say he's Bryce Harper. Don't say he's Bryce Harper's friend.
Other than Bryce Harper,
no.
Vegas, but no, because there are actual I'm blocking. I don't know what I'm doing right now. I'm blocking my face on my own camera. It doesn't work. Me looking at myself. The Phillies, other than the Bryce Harper connection, there's actually smoke there. So my question is, besides Bryce and Bryson Stott, by the way, also from Vegas, who's going to be up there this year.
Should be on the White
what
Sox.
Smoke do you feel like? What is it about the Phillies though that does make you believe that he would? Because you know what, I would totally take that over the fucking Nets. So.
Alec Boehm hasn't really panned out how they would like him to. That's the third base spot that they were needing to fill. Let's say Alec Boehm does turn it around. Chris Bryant can play many other positions. He could play outfield. I don't know. They've needed corner outfield spots on that team. Did McCutchen, was this his final year with Phillies?
I think he's out, right? Yeah,
I don't think he's made it official yet, but he's like 110 years old.
I think this is his third year.
Yeah.
All right, so this would be his final year. I think they could put him in either right or left field. He'd fit in there fine. Rhys Hoskins needs a day off. You could throw Chris Bryant at first base. Just the positional flexibility. They can spend some money. They're close to the they're definitely playoff contenders. I wouldn't say they're World Series contenders yet.
Right.
It could be. With
Just
Chris,
seems like a
though.
decent spot.
Bro, I can't tell you that is the best argument for the Phillies for KB that I have heard. How you just broke down the positional, especially like at the hot corner, but the positional movement and what he wants to do too. You broke it down.
DH too.
DH as well.
Play DH.
All of them can take the days off. Like it's a thing, man. So that was, again, I've been anti. So that one I'm with you on that one because and this is without even saying anything that I know is that it was a hard no unless they opened up the pocketbook, and I think that hard no is really kind of now dedicated to the Mets franchise.
Yeah, he's not going to the Mets.
I think the Phillies
he's not going to the Mets.
I think the Phillies can throw over market a little bit at KB, and again, the cold weather comfort fee isn't as extensive as it would be to go to the Valley of Ashes in New York. So I think that's the best why KB would sign with Phillies that I've heard, period. So that was awesome.
I don't know if you know this, Healy, but you just passed like the K-Fids litmus test.
Seriously.
If he would have asked you that, he was setting you up because he wanted you to just go, he's friends with Bryce Harper, because they're cordial. They're not as good of friends as the media makes it out to be. We've done like 10 shows on it, so just trust me on this one. So congratulations, Healy.
A whole PowerPoint.
You have been anointed by K-Fids. The good reverend has anointed you.
Which direction I go, I don't know.
So as we come up to the end, though, I got to say again, Healy, thank you so much for your time, man. Like I said, I didn't even realize how fast time flew by because that was a lot of fun. And before we call it a show, though, please take the forum here and let people know where they can find you, when they can listen to the Standing Room Only podcast, and if you want, when they can find you on Twitch.
All right. You can find me at the Healy6, Twitter and Instagram, Healy6 on YouTube and Twitch. I do a standing podcast called Standing Room Only. It's basically just another sports talk show. I do get some athletes on from time to time, and those go live like every Wednesday night on all the platforms. So you can find on Apple, YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, that's basically it for me.
No, I appreciate it. Are you getting into the that's a stupid question. Have you been able to test?
Do you watch Ozarks?
No. Have you tested?
Have you been playing video games? That's what I was literally about to
see the Eternal?
Remember when you were with the Beatles?
Doctor Strange trailer for the Super Bowl.
Remember when you were with the Beatles? That was awesome. No, have you being an official partnership and official streamer, have you been able to play any of the new game?
The tech test goes live tomorrow. You're able to play it today if you could download it on Xbox and PlayStation. Servers aren't live, but you could do like custom practice, which is hitting, pitching, and fielding if you wanted. Or like team practice, which is pretty much a scrimmage in a sense. But haven't played any online, haven't been able to test out all those new features.
I am excited about the co-op mode. I think that's going to be fun. It's just going to make it a lot more fun.
I think it'll fizzle out in
Wait, what is co-op mode real quick for the idiot that loves pitching on MLB? Hold on, the MLB show idiot that loves pitching but cannot hit for shit.
So go ahead, Healy.
So brand new mode, MLB The Show 22. It's 2v2, 3v3. You can play with regular teams, or you can play with your Diamond Dynasty teams. Diamond Dynasty, you each just draft a few of your cards. You build a team that way, and then you match up against other people online. Unfortunately, let's say you have 4 people, you can't be like, all right, let's play 2v2 and match up against each other. There's no friendly matchmaking there.
That kind of sucks.
It's your squad.
So you'd kind of have to time it up, the search, and hope you match someone that way. And besides that, I don't really think you get much out of it. It's kind of just like a casual, fun game mode, which I if I'm in the mood to like drink and play with some of my boys and we want to just have a relaxing time, could play that mode. But for like the serious people, you aren't getting much out of it. So, and you can't play your friends. So I think it'll be like an okay mode.
we're very unserious people. So I'm right now picturing me, Zoe, and Aldo walking down the MLB The Show 3x3s or whatever, doing like West Side Story tunes.
Did you just recently watch West Side Story?
We're all like we're in a gang fight on MLB The
How much
Show.
are you getting paid to advertise West Side Story?
We're gonna take our show against the 108 show on MLB The Show.
They still play Atari. Fitz.
That's true. They probably,
when did you last watch West Side Story, Fitz?
Oh, back at like Christmas.
Why have you brought it up 4 times this show?
Dude, I can't. It's a. I don't know. It's stuck in my head. I guess.
Okay.
Maybe. And it got nominated for an Oscar. Maybe that's why. I don't know.
I did have one last MLB The Show question. I saw you tweet about this, I think about a week ago. So, like, how would you fix the franchise mode in MLB The Show?
That's the big question. That is the big question.
Well, you got to fix the trade logic. Juan Soto gets traded for 270 overalls anytime you decide to play that mode.
Don't tell White Sox Twitter that.
You can only do 3v3 trades. Just the simulation isn't too great. This has been a problem for years, but in MLB 19, fun fact, I was actually in that game.
Yes,
I played a lot of Road to the Show, and Mookie Betts at the age of 30 or like 31-ish, he was like a 70 overall after hitting 350 the year before, and he was in AAA or AA, and he was out of the league. It made no sense. Guys, like if it's either an age thing or they're in the league for like 6 or 7 years, then the game's like, all right, you're bound to be bad. And you could have hit 350 the year before, hit 50 home runs. They're like, all right, your overall goes from a 95, now you're an 86, and then they get ruined. Just the long term. I get some people only play a 1-year franchise mode, but there's some people like myself where I want to build like a dynasty or play different scenarios. Playing a long-term dynasty in that, it just doesn't really work with the simulation and progression of overalls and whatnot, and the trades.
I think the first
also the money too. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, another big issue is the budgets. They never really increase, and also you can't, let's say, have the Orioles. They get like a new owner all of a sudden, and they have like $200 million payroll. Whatever the payroll is when you start out, that's like their payroll for the rest of time. So it can never change. So you could have the Yankees. You could swap the Orioles and the Yankees, switch their payrolls, and then the Orioles are just going to have a massive payroll the rest of the time, and the Yankees are going to have that small one.
So I went a long time between playing MLB The Show. I think it was like a decade.
We did it live on this podcast.
I did notice that weird, like the player progression not making sense, because in like my second year of playing like Road to the Show, Yu Darvish started the year at AAA. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, why?
Crazy. If you do want to see progression of all the games, if my most popular video is hitting a home run on every single game so far.
Nice. Okay, so since you flexed just now, as someone that Zoe will attest to, because I played my first MLB The Show game live with Zoe on Twitch. It was terrible. Aldo was there. It was horrible. I think he beat me like 24-0. But most of it was because I didn't know like how to throw the ball at all to any defense. I was throwing it just all the time and a lot of the time. And then he hit some bombs. But I can't hit for shit. I can play defense now on the game. What kind of advice would you give to someone that can't? For me, I'm stuck here. The mental block that I have, because back in the day when you're playing like RBI baseball or baseball stars or, triple play or God, go around down the list. You can sit there and you push up and left. If you're righty, you're pulling directional. And I sit there and I try to do the analog, and all I do is just I just push up up. It doesn't matter. Pitches in the zone up. Like so, I miss doing that. I know. I can't. Here's my question though. So as I slowly start weaning myself off the teat of the RBI baseball,
so you just start your own YouTube channel.
what do you? I see these dudes, and this is me being a total nerd that doesn't know anything. Old guy talking here is I see these dudes that are playing. They have this it's almost like a condom for their analog stick that allows them to have actually more control over, because obviously it's where you put the target where the pitch is at, and I'm literally oop, up like every time. So is there something that you would recommend, like maybe a training bra or some sort of something
Like
for us anybody?
There you go. That's it.
Exactly. So that does help, right? That makes it less. Let's be honest. I don't need it as sensitive. I'm premature evacuating. I need it to be less sensitive here when I'm trying to position my I guess we call it the targeting system on a pitch. Like it really does. It drives me nuts because I'm like, oh god, it was too sensitive there. But what do you recommend for us oldies that are trying to eliminate this old RBI baseball, just push forward on everything? It means a home run. Now that we actually have nuance in the game that actually simulates baseball better, which is crazy because I can throw BP, I can pitch, I can hit BP just as well, but I cannot hit in this game, and it drives me nuts. Like as a baseball dude, I want to actually stab my eyes out. So what would you recommend I do to fix that problem besides Viagra?
Jesus, that was the longest question
ever. Very long. Sorry about that. But it's a very nuanced question. That's why I
you could buy like the Control Freaks. They kind of change the range of motion, so it's a little bit slower and not as sensitive to move it around. This past year, I didn't use any. I don't know. I like the feel of the PlayStation 5 controller. I also played on.
You were raw
I also played on the Xbox as well, but PS4, the controller, I think just the placement, it made more sense to have the Control Freaks. And then just besides that, unfortunately, you just gotta play more to recognize pitches. As stupid as that is, it's like baseball players at spring training where they just take BP all day and
Kevin, actually, that would be a great series for us. Kevin learns how to play the show.
Right? It could be a documentary, really.
When you just stream 10,000 hours, and then after that, you'll perfect it.
Like pitching and defense now at this point is great, man. Other than the time where all of a sudden you hit every single fucking thing and your pitcher just dude, it literally was right in every. What just fucking happened? And of course, it's the player numbers or whatever too. But I'm like, God dang it! But with hitting, no, it doesn't matter. You throw me up there with Mike Trout.
Hold on, this took me a minute because I kept finding it as a JPEG. But look at this guy, boom!
God,
this dude's taking deep fits,
dude.
Look at that guy.
Bananas? Is that the Savannah Bananas?
Yeah. In MLB 17, I was, or it was 19. It was that year. Yeah. MLB 19. I was just looking for a team, and it was 17. I found it. MLB 17. I was just looking for a new logo. I went through every single page in the vault. Couldn't find one I liked. I was like, bananas are my favorite fruit. I'll just rock with these. So I picked them, and I get a bunch of people who are like, "Are you from Savannah? Are you a Savannah Bananas fan?" I'm like, "I just like bananas, and they happen to have their logo in the vault." No,
that's awesome. The only reason I knew Savannah
Georgia,
Bananas,
I'm not.
That was so good because I saw that and I'm like, that's the Savannah Bananas. By the way, if you ever go to Savannah, Georgia, go for brunch because they have what they call Tagosa. You're allowed to carry your mimosas on the streets in Savannah. Ooh. But it's also Georgia. Mm-hmm. So, but it's really cool to go there. But the bananas exist. I saw that. I was like, that's pretty sweet.
Well, see, I told you it would eventually get derailed.
When Joe said "welp," we've gone off the rails.
Yes,
that's actually like the conductor going, "Ladies and gentlemen, please take that oxygen mask and put it over your face, and then under your seat is a floating raft." And welp.
Anyways, Alex Healy, thank you very much for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. Hopefully when baseball gets back and things get going, maybe Fitz can give you an update. We'll have you back on to talk about mid-season.
We should play each other. As how bad I am.
You don't want that, Fitz. You don't want that, Fitz. If you thought I beat you bad, Fitz,
and I won't quit. I will play the whole
time. That'd be a great video.
I will take 75-0. I don't even care.
I can already picture the little screen cap you make for YouTube. Like, I
that
beat
was
this poor
right.
bastard 72 to fucking 4.
And he asked for it.
Yeah, and he actually
4. Kevin's
would
not
not
getting
quit.
4 runs.
He's just gonna hit the up like he does every time. Eventually, one's gonna hit.
No, I wrote it down, and I'm on Amazon like in 3 minutes. Because now I'm gonna get.
And Zoe's tip, just stop doing
I
it.
just want to throw it in the strike zone, and you'd probably swing at every pitch.
He would.
No. Actually, I'm good with the. It's the selection is not a problem. It's the
concept.
everything. Apparently, swing at everything that's above the zone and up and to the left. So,
Sure. Well, for Alex Healy, make sure you're going to find Standing Room Only Podcast and Alex Healy at the Healy 6. For Fitz, Aldo, I'm Zoe. Thank you, everybody. We will see you hopefully next week, and the lockout will be over because I'm going to be optimistic. All right. Take care, everybody. Be good to each other.